Hi, welcome to RCSP Florida. Today we ventured south to the Everglades and visited Fakahatchee Strand Preserve State Park near Copeland, Florida. It is the largest state preserve in Florida at over 85,000 acres. It is the orchid and bromeliad capital of the continent with over 44 native orchids and 14 native bromeliad species. We traveled over 6 miles on J.N. Scenic Drive, over 12 miles if you count down and back, since you have to come back the same way you went. It used to be 11 miles, but it has been shortened by the park because of, shall we say, less than stellar citizens. They have had trouble with vandalism and idiots stealing the orchids, which in almost every instance will die within days after they are stolen. The orchid will only thrive if it has everything it gets in the park. This is almost impossible to duplicate anywhere else. We also visited J.N. Ding Darling National Park on Sanibel Island. I was really excited about this trip because on my way down I stopped at Johnson Photo Imaging in Bradenton, Florida to see if they had the new and hard-to-get Sony FE 200 to 600 mm f5.6 to 6.3 G OSS lens. Everybody else seemed to have it on back order. I walked in and talked to Skip, and lo and behold, they had it. It didn't take much arm twisting to tell Skip, sold. If you're ever in the Bradenton, Sarasota, Florida area, stop in and say hi. I bought my Sony a7R III there as well. They'll take good care of you. I try to support my nearest and only photography store in this area. They have a very nice store and offer training classes for photographers if you're interested. They also have photography outings during the year. While most of them come with a fee, some are free. By the way, I am not affiliated with this store in any way. I'm just a customer like you. I paid list price for the lens like everyone else. I put a link in the description if you're interested. With my newly acquired long lens, the first full-frame 600mm lens I've ever owned, we headed to Naples, Florida for the night. Early the next morning, we headed for Fakahatchee Strand, about 30 miles away. I was chomping at the bit to see what this lens could really do. I'll do a full review later comparing it to my Sony FE 100 to 400mm lens. I did use my Canon 16 to 35 f4 lens with the Sigma MC11 adapter for some of the landscape photos, but anytime I use a different lens other than the 200 to 600, I will tell you on the screen. I also wanted to show you both these locations because they are great places to go to see what Florida has to offer for nature photographers. Let's take a look at some of what I was able to capture. As soon as I got out of the car and was able to swap the 100 to 400 for the 200 to 600, I took this picture, my very first photo with the new lens. As you can see, it is tack sharp. Not the best subject maybe, but hey, I was excited and took a picture of the first bird I saw. It could have been a vulture. I shot all morning up until the light got too harsh for decent pictures. I have to say, this copy of the lens is amazing. The focus was very quick and accurate, and at this point I think just as good or very close to the 100 to 400. When I get a chance to do the review of the two lenses, I'll show shots from both lenses on the a7R III and let you make up your own mind which is better. This kilder was the second bird I ran across, and again the photo is tack sharp. He was there with several of his friends. Unfortunately, we didn't see that many birds, but the flora was amazing. All kinds of plants and flowers were everywhere. This is a spider lily. I shot this picture because I thought the really light green royal palm stood out against the darker background of the other trees. I thought these lily pads, along with the flag lily and the white water lily and reflection, made a nice photo. The grass was so high in parts of the prairie that this over 3-foot tall great egret almost disappeared in the grass. This green heron was trying to disappear in his surroundings, and I almost missed him. The tall grasses at Fakahatchee are beautiful any time, but when the light hits them just right, they are spectacular. Unfortunately, I had to settle for this shot without the sun, but it was still nice. By the time I took this picture, the clouds had rolled in. Like all wetland areas of Florida, there are alligators at Fakahatchee Strand. I found this guy laying on the bank sunning himself. Remember this shot? Well, I was standing right where the gator is laying when I took it. So always be aware of your surroundings when you're out shooting around water in Florida. I also found this black snake at the same location. It must have been the reptile stop along the road. He moves pretty fast, so it's a short video. I found this butterfly alongside the road sipping nectar from this flower and was able to snap a few pictures. The one of him frozen in mid-flight is my favorite. At the same location, there were culverts going under the road to help balance the water in the wetlands from one side of the road to the other. And there were probably over 100 garfish swimming right in front of the culverts, waiting for any unsuspecting fish to flow through right into their mouth, which is covered in sharp needle-like teeth. The water is this color because of the tannic acid produced by the trees. There were lots of flowers to take photos of, and these are just a couple. There are also lots of air plants in the park to enjoy and photograph. I tried to pick ones that had a splash of sunlight hitting them as it filtered through the canopy. I took this picture because it looks like the air plant is on an aspen tree. The white bark, which is really gray, is covered in a white lichen, and it makes the tree appear to be white. You can see the real color of the bark by looking just below the air plant, where you can see a small patch of the trunk with its normal color. This is the same tree from a different angle. I thought this made a nice landscape photo with the crossing trees and multiple air plants. If you are into textures, then this tight shot of the dead reeds might interest you. I started to do an artsy shot and do a blurred image photo by tilting the camera as it was shooting the picture. However, I am such a resolution freak, I couldn't make myself do it. To me, it always looks like I made a mistake. Now, on to our next location the following day. This is Sanibel Island Lighthouse. The lighthouse was constructed in 1884 and was first lit in August of that year. This osprey seemed very happy sitting on the railing at the top of the lighthouse watching the world go by. It was a great vantage point to spot fish out in the Gulf of Mexico. Sanibel is also home to J.N. Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. We took the wildlife drive and were able to capture the following photos. This little blue heron was really concentrating on his next meal. I believe this is a red knot, but I'm not positive. It was the closest match I could find. I took several pictures of these birds to show how consistent this lens and camera combination really is. The camera and lens rarely missed focus, and the times it did, it was often a matter of the photographer and not the camera and lens. This next series of photos of a reddish egret was taken in continuous shooting mode, and out of all of the images I took, only one was slightly out of focus, and this bird was running around like crazy, which they tend to do. They are one of the most fun birds to photograph I've ever seen. See if you can figure out what is wrong with this bird before I tell you. Look at him closely. Do you see it? This bird has a transmitter glued to his back and a long antenna trailing out the back. I first thought it was just a long wet feather, but when I looked at this shot, it was clear what it was. This is a snowy egret coming right at me for landing. The autofocus tracked him very well. These next three images are more texture photos I took on the beach at the lighthouse. The first two are of shells covering areas of the beach. Sanibel Island is one of the best shelling destinations in the world. The next photo is of sea foam that had washed up on the beach and gotten trapped and then dried. I thought they were interesting images. And finally, only in South Florida can you find an iguana laying on the edge of the road sunning himself. He was about 3 feet long. That's one big lizard. I hope you like this tour of Fakahatchee Strand Preserve State Park and J.N. Ding Darling National Wildlife Preserve. I have links in the description for both of these magnificent locations. I can't say enough about how pleased I am at the performance of the Sony FE 200 to 600mm f5.6 to 6.3 G OSS lens in combination with my Sony a7R III. If you are asking yourself why I didn't shoot more video this time, the answer is simple. All of these shots were handheld. I never took a tripod out of the car the entire weekend. I do pretty good, but I'm not stable enough to shoot video with a 600mm lens, and it's 900mm in APS-C mode, handheld. What I did attempt to shoot might make you seasick if I showed it to you. Next time I'm back to using my tripod, and I'll have some samples of the video this camera and lens combo can make. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of your screen. I would appreciate that. If you want to know when I post new videos, please hit the bell button. Thanks for watching, and get out there and shoot. Make your own memories. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.